there are mass protests, student protests in Quebec, and more than 2,500 students have already been arrested. This is a pretty disastrous story because 3 months ago these protests began because the government is trying to, the schools are trying to increase the tuition by 75%. I should note, though, that even if they do raise tuition by 75%, Quebec will still have the lowest tuition in the country. But it doesn't matter. It's a slippery slope, and the students know that. So they took to the streets 3 months ago, and what the government is now doing is they're passing legislation to basically prevent these protests from happening. So students will no longer be able to shut down schools. You could get arrested, and you can get these hefty fines if you interrupt classes and try to do like a lockdown, so classes get interrupted and stuff. So and the arrests are ridiculous. 2,500 arrests.
Yeah, that's just un-American.
It's actually very American.
Well, actually, these days it's quite American, right? No, listen, I don't know what's worse, a tuition hike. Look, if it's unequal in different parts of Canada, I get the logic behind it. On the other hand, if you're the one who has to all of a sudden pay 75% more, I get the rage behind that too. And of course, my liberal perspective is, well, then bring the tuition down to where Quebec's level is in the rest of Canada, right? But I don't know if that's worse or clamping down on protests is worse. I think maybe clamping down on protests might be even worse.
And also, it totally muddies the message, right? Because the students are there to protest something legitimate. But at the same time, you have the government passing these ridiculous laws that prevent them from taking to the streets and protesting. So a lot of people got arrested. By the way, 518 were arrested in Montreal on Wednesday night alone. 518 people. The fact that they're trying to censor these kids from protesting and practicing their rights is the worst part about this story. We're seeing education cuts and tuition hikes all over the place. But just like with the Occupy movement, the government doesn't want anyone to disagree with them. They want citizens to sit down, shut their mouths, and allow the government to do whatever the hell they want.
And the reason I get so upset on the education issue is because, look, if we're to believe here in the U.S. in the American dream, in Canada, similar, obviously, dreams, etc., of making it, and well, then you got to give us a chance. You got to give us a fair shot, right? And education is your magic bullet to be able to get into the top 1% or 10% or 20%, or just have a decent living and take care of your family, etc. So the more they make education expensive, the more they're shutting the door behind them. It's not only all the unfair advantages that the rich and the powerful have, especially in the U.S., but also in Canada as well, of course. But then once you burn the bridge behind you or shut the door behind you, well, then you've condemned the rest of us and you've ruined what's the best part of our culture, which is that anybody can make it, right?
Absolutely.
And so the more these tuitions get, increased throughout North America, the less chance the average guy has, and it ruins our democracy.
Yeah, more and more people are, traveling abroad to get a more affordable education, and even that option isn't going to be available soon. You're seeing this throughout, the world at this point. And
yeah, don't make us go to France. Don't do that to us.
Actually,
okay?
That sounds awesome.
On the upside, though, the tuition hike is significant, but it's in Canadian dollars.